Welcome everyone. Let me ask you, are you awake? Like, are you even actually here? Are you paying attention? Like, or are you running on some sort of autopilot? You know, because today we want to talk about the autopilot alert and how you know if you're sleepwalking. Now, for those of you who joined me yesterday, then welcome to day 2 of the ultimate 25 days to ignite your spark that we were running over the December 1st through December 25th, and how you really ignite that spark within you and get out of the survival mode, the autopilot, the burnout, overwhelm, frustration, anxiety, and really start living the way that you want to live today. Now, if you were here yesterday, if you watched the video and you're joining me again today, that tells me something really important about you. Like, you're following through, right? Even when you're tired and stressed and overwhelmed, you made a promise to yourself yesterday, and now you showed up, and that matters so much more than you think. Yesterday in the video for day 1, we named the exhaustion. We acknowledged like the sleepwalking that's happening, and we opened the door to the idea that the next 25 days, when we get to the end of that, is going to feel completely different for you. If you didn't get a chance to watch that video, you'll be able to go check it out on the channel. We're going to create a playlist of all 25 videos, and this is day 2. So welcome to day 2. So now we're going to start turning that idea into something that you can actually measure. That isn't judgment, but finally being able to see what's happening under the surface, that's causing the sleepwalking or the survival mode and everything. Because here's the thing, most people never slow down long enough to realize you can't change what you can't see, and most people can't see what they've been in autopilot for too long. They just will describe it like, and maybe you've said these things. I know I did when I was in autopilot and survival mode. You just feel off or a little numb. Like you're checking all the boxes, but you're not really living life. And oftentimes, like when this happens, we blame ourselves. We assume it's laziness or distractions or a personality flaw. And the truth is, like, autopilot isn't a character flaw. It's a survival response. Your brain has been protecting you from the overwhelm the only way it knows how. It's the same survival instincts and things that we've been using for thousands of years as humans. Your brain thinks it's protecting you by switching into this like low power mode, like the same way your phone would do when your battery is low. And once you understand that, well, then we can start to peel back the shame that starts to show up for people. You stop asking like, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I grateful? Why am I not further along? You start asking like, well, what's my brain trying to tell me? And so today, like, we're diving into this autopilot alert. It's how you spot the difference between being busy and being absent. How to know when numbness is actually a signal. How to understand the brain science in a way that you can finally make, compassion feel possible. You can start to make changes for yourself, and how you get the concrete diagnosis of where you're at using this thing that we call the survival mode assessment. You'll find a link to it in the description, but we'll talk more about it here in just a bit. Now, let me speak directly to the real people like who watch this, the parents, the entrepreneurs, the people who are working away in their 9-to-5 jobs. Like, you might be the parent who drives home and suddenly realizes like you don't remember the last 10 minutes of your drive, or the entrepreneur who sits through a full meeting and no memory of what any person said. Or maybe you're the employee whose whole week just feels like a blur, and you did a lot, but you're stuck and you just struggle to play back the game from what went well. And if any of that sounds like you, let me know. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. Your brain isn't failing you. You're not doing anything wrong. Like, your brain's protecting you. And now we're going to learn how you can work with it instead of fighting against it. We're going to unpack that. I totally forgot at the top of the video. I always like to say, like, welcome to the Giver Method channel. If you're new here, welcome back. If you're back for another video. And once again, this is day 2 of a 25-part series that we're doing throughout December. Whenever you join and start watching, you can check out the playlist that we'll have. We'll have all 25 videos lined up, and you can start wherever you're at. But hopefully, you're along for the ride with us. Now, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder. I'm the author of this book. It's called The Giver Method, and everything we talk about in any of the videos on the channel is grounded in principles directly from The Giver Method. It just came out, like, we just hit our 1-year mark, and it's been amazing because it's hit the Amazon bestseller list multiple times. Tons of people have gotten access to it, and right now it's on sale. You can get it, the link is in the description, or you can pause the video, go to Amazon and look up The Giver Method by Jake Talbert. Go get yourself a copy. Maybe buy some copies for someone you know that maybe needs it. Buy a couple copies and send me a message, and maybe I'll send you something. Like, this really is the key, right? It's the guide, it's the roadmap, it's the thing that helps you to discover your gifts and superpowers and really start to use them intentionally, creating value for other people, and you're having more impactful relationships and engagements with people. Living a more fulfilled life, more joy, more delight, and really stepping into who you're meant to be so that you can impact people in the way that only you can, because you're the only person with your combination of gifts, superpowers, and experiences, the good experiences, the bad experiences, the slip-ups, the failures, everything in between, which means that there are people out there that you are the only person you can make an impact in their life, because that's what they need. They need someone who's been through the exact things you've been through and has the gifts and superpowers that you have. So like I said, get yourself a copy of the book. Now, a lot of you are going to hear that and just blow past it. I promise you it will change your life. It will change everything about you. There's exercises, action items, worksheets, stories, all meant for people like you and me, because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a parent of 3. I've worked in that corporate sea of cubicles. I know you can't burn everything down and start over. Like, you can't go move to the woods to go find yourself, right? You have to do these things in the life that you're already living, and that's what we're going to be covering. Now, I know I spent years thinking like the numbness, that was there, like that was, maybe it's just a part of being an adult, right? The adulthood of, or exhaustion was just a way that my life had to be. And it turns out like those weren't outcomes that had to happen or personality traits. They were just signs. And once I learned how to read them, everything changed. And so that's what we're doing today. So we're going to go through these 5 signs that tell you you're an autopilot. We're going to walk through this survival mode assessment that you can get a link for in the description. I highly recommend you go do it. It's amazing when you do the actual assessment. It's 25 questions. We're going to walk through a simple version during the video, but hopefully you can go take the full version. We're going to break down the brain science that is actually causing these things so it can remove the shame. And then we're going to start collecting some simple data that wakes you up, not someday, but starts waking you up today. Nothing in this video requires any hours of work. Everything is designed for the people who have real responsibilities and busy people that, like you, that want to change, but need the tools that actually fit the life that they're living. And like I said, that's why it's so much going to be grounded from the stuff in the Giver Method. So if you want, grab yourself a copy. The link's in the description, or go to Amazon, get yourself a copy. Look up the Giver Method by Jake Talbert. You can also go follow us on all the social media channels: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, under the handle of the Giver Method. Go to thegivermethod.com. That's where you can get on our newsletter list. You can check out, we've got a couple of the resources down in the description, like the survival mode assessment or the Giver roadmap. Like, you can check out other resources we have there. You can also look at the one-on-one coaching we have if you're wanting someone to be the guide and walk alongside you while discovering these things. And then if you have a stage, a podcast, an event, some sort of a audience where it would make sense for us to bring these messages to them, and let's talk about how we can do it in a very real way. Now, this is day 2 of 25. If you missed day 1, you definitely want to go back, because each day builds on the last. Make sure that if you aren't already, make sure you're subscribed and you ring that bell for notifications. Like the video, comment your thoughts along the way. Comment hey, I'm still here, I'm ready to rock, or whatever, because that means that these videos will show up for you. They're way more likely to show up for you, so that you don't miss out on the other ones. All right, so let's dive in. Let's figure out how to know if you've been sleepwalking, and more importantly, how you wake up from that. And so the first principle, the first thing we want to talk about is there are these autopilot signs, and it's about recognizing these 5 autopilot signs that are there, how to tell when you're here but not really here, okay? Because people don't slow down enough to think, notice the difference between being busy and being gone. I mean, every high capacity person I've worked with, or heart driven person I've worked with, they hit this point at some stage, and you probably have felt it where you're still doing everything you've always done, but just your insight feels dimmer. You're running through life, you're taking care of life, your home, your business, but you're really not living your life. You're not inside your life anymore. And before you blame yourself, let me say something clear. Once again, these off moments aren't signs that you're failing or broken or that you've done something wrong. They're just signs that your brain has slipped into survival mode. And our job today is to help you to recognize, okay, well, what are the 5 signs that tell me man, I'm drifting into autopilot? Because once you can spot them, you can change things. You can wake up from something you don't know you're in. So we got to wake you up from it. So here's what we're going to do. Think about this way. Like I said, the 5 signs how you've slipped into autopilot. So starting today, we're going to learn these different signs. So you may want to grab a piece of paper, open up a notes app, something, jot down what these are so that you know what they are. The first sign, okay? Time is slipping by, not sticking. This is when your days blur into weeks. And you can't even name anything memorable that actually happened. And someone asks, hey, how was your week? And you're like, I was just busy. Once again, not because your life is boring, but because your brain hasn't been fully present long enough to encode anything or to lock away those memories. So what you want to do is right now, see if you can recall 5 specific moments in the last 7 days. Not events, moments, a laugh, a smell, a piece of light, a sound, something, whatever it is. If it's surprisingly hard, my God, it's sign number 1 is right there in front of you. Okay, maybe I'm in autopilot. Now, sign number 2, you feel flat or numb or disconnected. This is classic. I'm here, but I don't really feel like I'm here. You're at your kid's game, but you're thinking about work. You're at dinner, with your spouse, but you're mentally, you're replaying tomorrow. You're getting ready, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to be doing? You're functioning, but you're not feeling. Your brain shuts down emotional processing first when it feels overwhelmed. Not because like you don't care, but because it's trying to protect you. And so ask yourself, like, when was the last time that you felt genuinely excited about something? If you can't remember, that's a sign. If you can't get down to the detailed moments where you're like, no, I was there and fully present. Gosh, maybe sign 2 is there and it's calling you out. Now, sign number 3, like, maybe you're more irritable than makes sense. And this happens. I've been there. I've had that plenty of times. Like maybe you cry over tiny things, or for me, it was like I would snap over tiny things. Or you feel nothing at all when you feel like you should feel something. I've been there, guilty of that. Once again, it's not moodiness. It's not you being dramatic. It's your nervous system on overload. Like, so that's the third sign is like, okay, these emotions don't make sense. I'm triggering too quickly whatever emotion it is, or I just don't feel anything. Now, sign number 4, you're forgetting things that you normally wouldn't forget. Like you walk into rooms and you forget why you walked in there. You're driving somewhere and have zero memory of the trip. You realize the whole conversation happened and you don't recall a single detail. This happens when your brain is running on these automatic scripts, automatic programming, and that's inside of the prefrontal cortex, which we're going to talk more about the actual science and data, which I think is really fun and exciting, but some people don't. Like it's the part of your brain for your conscious attention. The power gets turned down. When you're driving, you can go on autopilot. Like what else in your life is happening without you? Like where is that happening for you or showing up for you? And then the 5th sign, that you're escaping instead of resting. This is when unwinding turns into mindless scrolling, endless TV, numbing out. Like you sit down to relax and suddenly 2 hours later, but you don't feel restored. You just feel empty. Rest fills you. Escape numbs you. If you feel the difference, like you're going to notice like when it's sign number 5. And so you need to recognize the pattern. So what you want to do is you want to take a second and name which signs are yours right now. Maybe it's number 2 or 3 or 5, or maybe it's all of them, and put them in a notes app or write it down where it's like, okay, all right, autopilot signs I'm experiencing is blank. Once again, it's not about judgment. It's awareness. The awareness is the first step out. Like now we can actually go do something about it. Now you could always try this. That helps. Do a 60-second presence pause. Think about it right now. You could do it. Like you could like pause the video and be like, look around the room. What do you actually see? Like listen, what are the sounds that are happening? Notice your body, your breath, your shoulder, your hands. Like listen for all those things. What do I smell? Do I have a cup of coffee? Like what does that taste like? Whatever. For 1 minute, like just interrupting the autopilot loop, it pulls you back into real life. And it may feel a little weird or uncomfortable, and that's okay. It's the proof of what you needed. Most people think that these signs are something that there's something wrong with them. But once again, it's just your brain. It's waving the flag being like, hey, guys, we're on overload. We need some support here. When you can recognize the difference between being busy or absent, you stop blaming yourself and you start understanding yourself. Man, you can change things. You can't change what you can't see, but once you can see the signs, now you get the power back. Now you can start to do more with it. Now, the second thing I want to cover is this survival mode assessment. You're going to want to do this. I highly recommend it. We're going to talk about it. You're going to want to pause the video and go do it because the actual 25-question assessment is going to be so impactful for you. All right. So this is about getting honest. Like it's the starting point. It takes 2 minutes to do. And it shows exactly where you are. You discover like whether you're surviving or coasting or thriving with that non-judgmental starting point. And people skip past it without even realizing it because like you try and fix anything in your life. Like you need to know where you are now. Like what's the actual diagnostic of where we're at? Not where you wish you were, not where you think you should be, but where are you today emotionally, mentally, energetically? And so the survival mode assessment gives you that. It's not a personality quiz or fluff reaction. It's just a quick, simple score that tells you whether you're surviving, coasting, or thriving. It gives you that non-judgmental starting point for this 25-day journey that we're on. Most people feel, who feel like this vague, like something's off in them, but they can't put a finger on it. When you don't have the language for your experience, your brain turns it into shame. Like, well, why am I like this? Why can't I get it all together? What does everyone else have that I don't? And so this assessment wipes that all away. It turns the fog into clarity. It turns self-blame into information. It turns confusion into direction. Once again, if you want to, you can use the link in the description. It's thegivermethod.com/survival. That's the link you're going to. That's the website you're going to. You can pause the video. It takes 2 minutes to take. And the reason why I'd recommend you do it there is because then it has customized results for you. It will actually walk you through based off your answers. Here are the things like that you should know about that. And so right now, if you want to, you can pause the video, click the link in the description, go or open up another browser, go to thegivermethod.com/survival, and then come back. Now, if you're like, oh, I don't know if I've got the time to do that, then hey, let's walk through a quick version right now that gets you to where we want to be. All right, so here's how we want to do this. We want to answer honestly, not like aspirationally. This isn't like the best version of you test. It's like, where are you today? Don't overthink it. Don't try to be impressive. Just be real. Now, here's the quick version. Like I said, if you can't go do the actual assessment, the first question is like, how often do you feel emotionally numb or disconnected? And it's going to have rarely, occasionally, frequently, almost always. Okay. Now, when you hear those things, what I want you to do is, if it's rarely, you're going to give it, the first answer is always going to be worth 0 points. Occasionally is always going to be worth 1 point. That frequently, the third thing is always going to be worth 2 points. And then the fourth one is always going to be worth 3 points. And we're going to total this up at the end. So how often do you feel emotionally numb or disconnected? 0 for rarely, 1 for occasionally, 2 for frequently, 3 for almost always. Okay, second question. How many moments from the past week can you remember clearly? If it's several, give yourself a 0. If it's a few, give yourself a 1. If it's 1 or 2, give yourself a 2. And if it's basically none, give yourself a 3. Third question is, how often do you go through the motions without remembering why it matters? If the answer is rarely, give yourself a 0. If it's sometimes, give yourself a 1. If it's often, give yourself a 2. If it's most days, give yourself a 3. The fourth question, when you relax, how often are you actually escaping, like we talked about earlier? If it's rarely, give yourself a 0. Sometimes, give yourself a 1. Usually, give yourself a 2. Almost always, give yourself a 3. And then the fifth question, how aligned do your days feel with what actually matters to you? If you answer, hey, very aligned, then that's going to be a 0. If it's like, somewhat aligned, that's going to be a 1. If you say, not really, that'd be a 2, and not at all, that would be a 3. And then you're going to add your score up. You might want to pause the video, add up your score. Okay, now if you got like a 0 through 5 after all of that, then you're thriving. You're generally present, engaged, connected. Like the journey, this journey is going to help you deepen what you've already got and protect it and really enhance where you can make an impact. I love working with thriving people because we can really start to turn up their ability to make an impact in other people's lives. Now, if you got a 6 through a 10, you're in that coasting phase where you're functioning, but you're probably got some disconnect. It's that comfortable numb zone people go into where years disappear. Like this journey, like what we're doing right now is going to wake you back up to that, get you to a thriving mode. And if you got to an 11 through a 15, you're in survival mode. You're running on fumes. Your brain's been in protection mode for a long time. You're not failing. You're tired. And this journey is going to help you to climb out of that. And so whatever is once you have that, you want to screenshot and save the results, whatever. Maybe you're gonna open up your notes app. But we talked about yesterday, you're gonna have a notes app for this 25 days, and you put day 2 survival mode assessment. I did it on December 2nd, 2025. And then hold on to it. On Christmas, you're gonna take this again, and you're gonna notice the difference is going to be undeniable. Write out what you took away from it. Now, the fifth thing you want to do here is read the interpretation that matches your score. Dive a little bit deeper. This is where, like I said, if you go do the actual online one, it's going to deliver this to you. It's going to have it on a page. It's going to email it to you. It'll be all sorts of amazing things. So but once again, if you're surviving, you've been in survival mode for a long time, it feels normal. Your brain is conserving energy and not malfunctioning. It's just we're giving you permission to stop blaming yourself. And now you have language of what's been happening. If you're coasting, once again, you're not drowning, but you're not alive either. And that's a danger zone because it's something that's not always sustainable. You stay here for years, but now you can actually see it and do something about it. And then thriving, once again, you're present, aligned, and connected. And this journey is going to help you to stay with that way and expand what's working and make a greater impact. Sometimes you need to take a second and write out a before and after sentence where it's knowing that you're going to take this again on December 25th. Your before is hey, right now I feel blank. I'm in survival mode because of this, this, and this. And then on the 25th, you're going to retake this thing and you're going to write out, now I feel. And the 2 sentences side by side, this before and after, of your inner world, it becomes the clearest proof of your growth. And this step, this thing that why it's so important, it's going to make an impact. Most people, they know they're exhausted, but they don't know what kind of exhausted they are. And without clarity, everything feels unsolvable. The assessment gives you the name of the experience. It gives you something you can finally do about it. Once again, it's not a verdict, it's the map. It's all right, you're here, and now we can actually go through them all like we need to. It's arrow for your journey back to your presence and your energy and your meaning. So wherever you land, surviving, coasting, thriving, it's a simple starting point. And that starting point is what makes the next 23 days of change like actually work. All right, now the third one. This is where we get nerdy, because it's the brain science. It's understanding the brain science, like why your brain isn't broken, and like understanding like what's actually happening there. And we've covered it briefly, but I want to dive deep into it because most people don't take a second, like because realize this, because it does actually unlock some relief. You know, people don't hear like, hey, you're not numb because you're not numb because you're lazy. Right? You're not distracted because you're weak. You're not forgetful because you're all over the place. You know, your brain just simply is in that survival mode for too long. It's doing exactly what it's been designed to do when you get overwhelmed. And this moment, like this, where shame feels, we want to fall away from you, and we want understanding to take over based off everything. The real person you've been on autopilot as a part of this. Like when stress becomes that constant instead of occasional, your brain flips into low power mode, and that stress, it may be stress, anxiety, overwhelm, frustration, like all sorts of things. Like your brain flips into low power mode just like your phone would. It's trying to conserve energy. So when you stop, that's when you stop running like the creative connected programming that you have. The fully alive parts of your mind, like they slow down, and it goes into like just what keeps you functional, not present. Once again, it's not a malfunction, it's a protection mechanism. And when you understand that, it starts to change things for you. Now, here's how it works. Like the real brain science, it's hopefully really simple to understand. Your brain, is carrying, like sometimes it causes you to carry this shame that, you're behind, you're things are happening, you're on autopilot, whatever. It's like, no, we need to work with the biology you have, like understand like, okay, well, this is what it is. So there's some understandings we're going to cover. And then understand the biology behind it so that you can actually use that and work with it. And so here's a couple understandings that I want you to take away, that I've taken away. And there are people who are way more experienced and experts on these topics. And I'm summarizing a bunch of things that a bunch of people have said, but I want to compact it into something that makes it hopefully usable for you. And so the first understanding is like your brain actually has two operating systems. It has like a manual mode and an automatic mode. You think of it like a car. Right? There's a manual and automatic, right? So your manual mode is your prefrontal cortex, right? Which is where like focus and being intentional, emotionally connected, creative, present. That automatic mode, is the now I forgot the name of it. Is it I forgot it. The basal ganglia, whatever. It's the automatic mode, whatever. Habit it's where you've got your habit-based things, efficiencies, where you get checked out, emotionless. You move fast. It's the low energy, and when life is calm, your brain it spends most of its time in the manual mode, because you're aware, you're engaged, you're conscious. But when life gets overwhelming for too long, it switches into automatic mode to conserve the energy. See, it's easier to use manual and automatic because then I can't remember the actual word. So manual and automatic, that makes it easier. You still function, right? Sometimes incredibly well, but you don't feel any of it. And so that's why you can crush it at work and still feel empty inside. Why you can show up with your family while feeling completely disconnected. Why days blur together even though you're doing a million things. And so the second understanding I want you to have is chronic stress, physically, it actually rewires your brain. And this isn't poetic language, it's literal biology. Research shows in the manual part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, it shrinks under chronic stress. Once again, the meaning, the presence, the memory, the decision making. The automatic part of your brain, it strengthens. The habits, the autopilot. And when you say man, I feel like I'm just going through the motions, you're describing exactly what's happening in your brain. Your brain it's trying to protect you. It's actually rewiring itself for that sort of programming, and we can break it. We can actually change that programming and rewire it the way that we want it to be. The third understanding, all right, your brain thinks that you're still in danger, and that's kind of the real issue, right? Your brain doesn't know the stress has paused. It stays in low power mode for weeks, months, sometimes years. And that emotional numbness, that you're feeling, you're judging yourself off of. Once again, it's not forgetfulness. I can't remember anything from this week, feeling all that stuff. It's not you failing. It's your brain keeping you alive. It's trying to, but it's just not fully awake. It hasn't popped back into the programming it should be using because it's been in the other one for far too long. Now, the fourth understanding, once again, the good news, your brain can be rewired back to what you want. So the same neuroplasticity, that you can rewire, reframe your brain, that shifted you into survival mode, you could shift out of. You can turn back on the manual mode through, interrupting those autopilot loops, which we'll talk more about. Small and consistent moments of presence, daily patterns that break, practices you've had, gentle reactivation of the prefrontal cortex, not through intensity, not through willpower, but just through very, very small, extremely small intentional steps. Exactly what this journey that we're on, 25-day journey, is all about. Why we're not trying to flip you out of survival mode to thriving overnight. We're taking time to get you there so that it doesn't shock your system. And the fifth understanding is shame keeps you stuck. Understanding sets you free. Every time that you've said what's wrong with me, or I can't feel anything, or why can't I focus? You've been adding stress on top of stress. Shame activates the same system to shut down that got shut down in the first place. But understanding, it actually is the antidote. When you realize your brain has been protecting you, not punishing you, you stop fighting yourself. You start working with yourself. You're okay, well, it's not what's wrong with me. Look, hey, my brain's protecting me. What is it trying to protect me from? What is it trying to do? Why is it in this mode? Great, now we can actually do something about it. And so this is where you can actually do something about this and have a compassionate reality check with yourself, where it's number one, speak the truth out loud. Right now, say it or write it in the notes app. Hey, my brain has been in survival mode and it's been protecting me. And the whatever feelings that you're feeling, the numbness, the forgetfulness, the disconnection, once again, it's not a flaw. They're signs. And now that I can understand them, I can help my brain come back online. That's writing out that sort of a sentence, even saying it out loud, because when you speak words into existence, it actually charges your brain even more. It removes the shame and it starts to create more things that you can build back. And then the second thing is you want to draw out your brain modes on a piece of paper. If you take out a piece of paper, you draw 2 circles, and the left circle is your manual mode, that prefrontal cortex, and the right circle is going to be that automatic mode. And write in it, the left circle, you're going to write out things like presence, creative, connected, intentional, alive, whatever ones are for you. Automatic mode, you're going to write, hey, what things are that you have, habitual things you do, efficiencies, when you check out, things that make you feel numb, the things that are survival. And then be honest. Draw arrows showing where you spend most of your time right now. Draw an arrow to where you want to move that thing to in the next 25 days. It just becomes a visual reminder, okay, well, this is just how my operating systems are doing, and I'm just working to shift them. I'm giving myself a visual representation of the shift that I'm trying to do. Because when you understand the biology behind your exhaustion, the shame that is there loses power. Knowledge brings compassion. Compassion brings breathing room. And that breathing room brings you energy to charge, things you can actually go do. When you understand why your brain shut down, waking it back up becomes a whole lot easier. And then that takes us into the fourth area that I want to focus on today as we wrap this up. Your daily awareness check-in, a simple way to catch yourself before you slip. Most people, once they know they're on autopilot, they feel it. They can sense it, but they don't know any real way to measure it. How much am I in that or not? And when you don't measure something, you can't change it. And so this simple data collection, where you're not spending hours of journaling or not some sort of complex system. It's just some tiny check-ins that you're going to do. Because most people, they try to fix their lives through willpower, but willpower doesn't work when you're exhausted. Awareness does. So we start collecting these small bits of data, how present you were today, what moments you remember, the situations, these things pull you out of autopilot because everything gets clear. You stop feeling stuck and you start understanding the mechanics of why you checked out. So that's when you begin waking up. And so, this is the real point of the principle. It's not to track yourself like a project or judge yourself or not to, we don't want you to perform mindfulness or whatever. No, that's not the point. You're just becoming a curious observer of your own life again, which is the foundation for the rest of this journey. And don't worry, the whole thing takes less than 5 minutes in an entire day, broken up. So here's the simple daily awareness system. Starting tonight, continuing for the next 25 days of this journey, you want to implement these 3 simple data collection principles. The first one takes 1 minute to do. All right. Every night before you go to bed, you're going to rate your day on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 through 3, would be I was gone today. I was checked out, disconnected, running on fumes. A 4 to a 6, maybe it was a mixed bag, some presence, a lot of autopilot. Maybe a 7 to a 9, I was mostly present, but I had a few dips. If it was a 10 for the day, I was fully alive, fully here, whatever it is, write it down. Day 2, right? After a week, you start noticing patterns. Wow, Mondays really are a lot of 3s for me. Or I'm more present on days I exercise. Every time I have back-to-back meetings, my score plummets. That's real information, not judgment. You can actually start to track the things. So the first day is what's the score? The next day is starting to track what those look like over time. So then there's the weekly time marker. This is 2 minutes that you're going to do on Sundays. Every Sunday asking yourself hey, can I recall 5 specific moments from this week with sensory details. Once again, not general tasks, real moments, something that you can see in your mind. The sensory details helps bring it back into reality so much more. You might remember 1 or 2 things, but by week 3, you're going to start remembering 4 or 5. And you're going to use those emotional and sensory things where it's like, I remember when I heard my son laughing, and when I was in the room, I just felt the comfort of it, and there was the calm based off the fact that I was like, those are words that are bringing it back and replaying it in your brain. That's how we bring your brain back online. And then third thing is you're going to look for trigger mapping. So once again, that's 2 minutes over the next probably 2 to 3 days. You start noticing the exact situations that pull you into autopilot, back-to-back meetings, school pickups when you're wiped, Sunday night dread, of what the week to come, walking into certain rooms, your phone going off nonstop, whatever. And you notice it happens because your body tells you it first. When your shoulders tighten, your breath gets shallow, your stomach drops, suddenly you reach for your phone, you get the burst of irritation. Whatever it is, mark them down. Hey, my triggers are blank, and the signals are this thing. And those become the early warning signs for you. It's like, oh, hold on, I'm experiencing one of those moments. Now I can pause and find how I can make that thing disappear. Once again, the real transformation doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from noticing sooner and doing something about it. Awareness isn't the whole transformation, but it's the doorway to everything else that we're going to do in this journey. You're not fixing your entire life. You're just paying attention to the tiny, honest things that show up. And that's exactly how you wake up, one small data point at a time. Now, if we wrap this all up, I want you to take a breath with me, because here's the real truth that we covered today. Once again, you're not broken or behind or failing. You've been in that survival mode, and survival mode, it can absolutely be interrupted and changed. And you learned, okay, well, there's 5 signs I can use to notice when I am. I can diagnose myself, so using the assessment tool, the survival mode assessment, so that it's not vague. You learn more about what your brain is actually doing, and you saw how you can start collecting data. Once again, this is just a foundation. Everything we do over the next 23 days builds on what we just did. So before you log off, pick one action, just one. I recommend that you do the survival mode assessment, and take a screenshot of your results. Once again, it doesn't matter where you start, though. It just matters that you do something. In fact, let's knock off one right now. Write somewhere, hey, day 2, autopilot score. And that's your first data point. Give yourself an autopilot score. That's the moment you can move from guessing to actually seeing things and actually tracking what's happening. And once again, if you want to dive deeper into these concepts, then go get yourself a copy of The Giver Method on Amazon. The link is in the description. It's on sale right now. $2 to $10 based off the version you get. Get it before prices go up, right? Everything that we're covering, they all get, it's so powerful when you pair these things together. If you want personal support, someone to walk you through this journey, one-on-one coaching, check out that link below. If you have a stage podcast event audience that needs to hear this message, let's talk about how we can bring it to them in a very real way. And once again, because this is a 25-day journey, make sure you're subscribed and that you ring the bell for notifications. Real quick, drop a comment which autopilot sign hit you the hardest today. Your comments help everyone else realize that you're not alone. It helps make the videos pop up. So once again, like the video. Tomorrow, day 3, we're going to be going over this idea of the stories we tell ourselves. We're going to get straight into limiting beliefs that are quietly keeping you stuck when you start, and that's how you start waking up from them. It's one of the most freeing days of the entire journey that we're going to go through. But for now, here's what matters. It's December 2nd. It's day 2 of 25. You showed up again. And that alone puts you ahead of 99% of the people that want to change but never actually do anything about it. Today, we recognize all these signs and things that we could go do. Once again, we're not trying to fix everything. But when you finally see what's happening, you can start doing the work. You can lay the foundation. And you realize you're not alone. You can start making progress. Because once again, once you start making progress, your world will change. There are people waiting for you to wake up and realize that you have these gifts and superpowers, and you're the only person with the experiences to back them to create the impact that only you can create. They're waiting for you to make the impact in their lives, and it comes on the other side of this, getting out of survival mode and into a thriving. So I'm excited to keep going on this 25-day journey. Keep plugging along, keep sharing your comments, and we will see you tomorrow. We'll keep walking through this together. Feel free to check out the other videos on the channel, check out thegivermethod.com, or follow us on social media, and have a great rest of your day.